What's up, math fans? I'm trying to get you to be very, very comfortable using trigonometry. In order to do that, first you got to know what SOHCAHTOA stands for. If you don't, go back to my first video on trigonometry and it explains it. It's really three different formulas explaining which three ratios. Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse, cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent equals opposite over adjacent. But you knew that already. So that's one skill you need for this video. Another skill you need for this video is knowing how to solve proportions. If you don't know that, man, you should watch my video on proportions. Here's a hint: cross multiply. All right, that's a review. So you're gonna get a right triangle, and you should know the Pythagorean theorem will help you find a missing side. So if I'm asking you to find a missing side, you should be thinking Pythagorean theorem. But the stipulation is you can only use Pythagorean theorem if you already have two sides and you need the third. Here, you don't have two sides, you only have one given side, the 5. So you can't use Pythagorean theorem, it's out. But at least keep it in mind, maybe you can. What you do have is an angle and a side. So far, you're used to having two sides and you find the missing angle. Now you have the angle and you gotta find the missing side. It's the same thing, you build the same ratio, but now you have a number for your angle. So first we're gonna start the same way we always start. Do what? That's right, label the sides. Here's my hypotenuse. Here's my given angle, so that's got to be opposite. And this is next to it or adjacent. And you can argue that, oh, I'm smart. If that's 60, I already know 90 plus 60 plus, and you can find that missing angle up there and say it's 30 if you want and be clever about it. But I don't need the 30, so that's an extra step. Don't worry about that. Yes, it is 30. Good job, but leave it alone. So I got adjacent and hypotenuse. I have no information about the opposite. So I look over here and I choose a formula. Label the sides, choose a formula, and then we're going to cross multiply. So, if I have adjacent and hypotenuse, I guess I have to use adjacent and hypotenuse. That's this one, that's cosine. So I'm going to say that the cosine of theta, or the cosine of A, or the cosine of B, I don't have theta A or B, I have 60, so cosine of 60 degrees equals, what did I just say? Adjacent over hypotenuse, so 5 over x. Okay? This is the beginning of a proportion. You can put this over 1. You can put anything you want over 1, alright? And how do you solve? You cross multiply. I'll go this way first and then this way. X times cosine 60. Some rookies think that it's cosine 60x. If you write it like this, it's confusing because it looks like it's 60 times x, and it's not. It's the cosine of 60 times x. The entire thing times x. And if you own a calculator, you'll know that the cosine of 60 has a very special value. How do you know? Just type it in. Type the cosine button. It'll open parentheses for you. Type 60, close parentheses, type enter. You'll get a value. I don't even care what that value is. It might be 0.7627. I don't know. Actually, I do know it's 0.5. It's a half. But don't worry, it doesn't matter what it is. Let's cross the other way. 1 times 5 equals 5. Okay? So, now I want to solve for x. How do I get x alone if there's something in front of it? That something is called a coefficient. You divide by the coefficient. Divide by cosine 60, divide by cosine 60. Cancel, x is alone, and then you go to your calculator and you type 5 divided by cosine 60. And you should get 10. How did I know it's 10? Because I happen to have memorized the fact that the cosine of 60 is 0.5. So I know that this says 0.5x. 0.5x equals 5. So I divide by 0.5, I divide by 0.5, x equals 5 divided by 0.5, 5 divided by a half is actually double that, which is 10, all right? I kind of cheated, but it doesn't matter. If you type this in the calculator, you'll get your 10, okay? So, you learn the 3 steps, that's it. You use 3 steps to find the missing side. Try it again for number 2, and you're good. If you want to stick around, I'll do it with you. So, I'm going to label the sides, given that this is 45. And again, I gave you one where you can cheat. There's a lot of them where you can't cheat. So don't be slick and say, oh, well, if that's 45, I already know that this one is 45. And, oh, if they're both 45, that's isosceles. And I already know an isosceles. both legs are the same. So if this is 7, then this is 7, and I'm done. Yes, you are done, congratulations. But what if I put the x here? Oh, then I can use Pythagorean theorem. Again, you're right, but I'm trying to make a point here, so we're not going to do any of that. We are going to use trigonometry. I'm going to put x here, and I'm going to pretend that I don't know anything special about the 45. I picked 45 because it's easier for me, but it could have been 40 or 12 or 17, and then you can't use those tricks. So I'm trying to show you what to do if you can't use those tricks. All right? So now that let me label my sides. Here's my hypotenuse. Here is opposite. And here is next to or adjacent. So which one do I use? I'm going to use TOA, tangent. The tangent of the angle is 45, given as 45, is equal to opposite x over hypotenuse. I'm sorry, opposite over adjacent, because I don't know anything about the hypotenuse. So opposite over adjacent, x over 7. X over 7. Kind of like the last question, put this over 1 and cross multiply. What's cool about this is x times 1 is x. So here I don't even have to do that extra step where I divided. 7 times 10, 45. Do not write it as 10, 45 times 7. Don't do 45 times 7. That's not what it is. Again, it's the 10 of 45, whatever that is, some decimal, then times 7. Okay? To be even super clear, most people will put the 7 in front so that they don't do 45 times 7. You're doing 7 times the whole whatever quantity of whatever 10, 45 is. So you get your calculator, and x is equal to whatever that gives you, 7 times 10, 45. I happen to know that the 10 of 45 is 1, and 7 times 1 is 7. So you were right, it is 7. Good job, thanks for watching, see ya.